everyone, Jigs VL here with a brand new discussion and also sort of a review, but bear with me when I had to say that, like, seems like I'm becoming a RoboCop fan in this very decade, despite I have not seen the first movie in the first place up until now, though. So I will put in one of my old videos in the description or in the comment section to give you guys the very idea that, like, I finally get to see one of these movies for the very first time. Not just RoboCop, but also like the Terminator and the Back to the Future trilogy. Yeah, I have not seen those movies at all up until now, but luckily I just saw at least with the first RoboCop movie. But now let's talk about with RoboCop 2 and 3. But I'm gonna have to generalize them and actually have to break it down here. So let's start off with the obvious type of cons here before going into the pros. All right, so the biggest con here is that, like, taking away the very aspect of what the first RoboCop was technically trying to go for, which is being a drama. Apparently, when it comes to, like, of course, mainly part 3, but it seems like part 2 was coming close to it being like not that much drama, because it seems like they went more like, hey, you know what? Let's focus on the kids and trying to sell them these toys, and also let's make the movies a little bit more campy, more action-packed, whack, trying to be exciting, etc. Right? That's the type of impression that I get from RoboCops 2 and 3, in which I'm like, I can understand from a business perspective, but when audience like me, especially becoming a new fan, I'm like, I can see what you're doing here, buddy, but sadly, I think you should have not missed that very core aspect of what happened in the first movie. So as much as I like some very wacky ideas, of course, like, it could be executed very sloppy, and that's mainly with the likes of part 3. Part 2, I thought it did a-okay with that. Part 3, though, I think it was pretty much overkill, especially with the whole, like, jetpack thing. The other con here is the fact is that, like, how would I put it like this, which is trying to retrace the very whole point of the first movie in part 2 and almost 3. The reason I say that is because, like, when it comes to, like, with Murphy being RoboCop, and now realizing that, like, he's more than just a robot, he's still a human. Technically speaking, he's a cyborg, right? But apparently in part 2, mostly in part 2, is that, like, they retrace this whole idea, still treating him like, oh, he's just like a servant robot. Just put him these directives, tell him what he needs to do, and that he will go rogue, etc. And I'm like, really? We just went through this. Like, what the hell? And also, I think what kind of stinks is that, like, we get to see Murphy's wife, at least trying to, like, meet up with her lost husband. I'm gonna say lost because she's now finally get to see him again, and yet we don't get to see her again anymore throughout. So what was the whole point? Like, really, what was the whole point in doing that? Right? And especially trying to mess with this very key aspect that we already been through from the first movie. Luckily with RoboCop 3, they were trying to do that again, but they shrugged it off the moment I was like, no, you better not do that. Don't do it. Okay, good, you didn't. Oh, thank God. Even though that RoboCop 3 still turned out to be very, like, off the wall, you know? And then with con number 3 is, I think I just mentioned this, like, not saying too much with that character that is Murphy's wife, right? But also, this falls into the same category with her, like, killing off and wasting a character, which is the likes of Murphy's female partner, who I thought was a pretty decent character, and who was trying to bring out the best in Murphy when it comes to him being RoboCop. So seeing her killed off is both sad, but also kind of sucks, though, because, like, she seemed like a very important character. Same thing with the wife. So just wasting some characters here and there, and especially, if I didn't know it better, maybe some villains, they kind of turn out better. Heck, with RoboCop 2's villain, she was one of the most stupidest ones I have ever seen. Like, holy crap, one of the worst villains I have seen on screen in my entire life. Like, holy crap. like apparently she had very strange ideas, especially have like a RoboCop 2, and I'm like, really? Like, you think that's the best idea? Oh, and especially let it be full on robots and not that much of a cyborg, not much human. Okay, gotcha. That could be a great idea. What could go wrong, huh? Like, holy crap. She was even making stupid decisions here and there by putting another bad guy, a criminal, one of their own brains, into that database to make it function. And I'm like, you think that's a good idea? What? Now with the pros is that, like, well, despite being campy, I actually find it kind of endearing and pretty exciting and thrilling. Sure, it may not be that much of what the first RoboCop was going for, but I'm a sucker for campy stuff. But depends on how it's being utilized. But I will admit that, like, again, with RoboCop 3, I think they did it over the top right there. With RoboCop 2, at least it was executed that well. And then the other pro I do want to mention is that, like, okay, now seeing some action sequences here and there, and especially seeing like like animatronic and claymation, heck, they look very impressive. They're still pretty damn good. They like age like fine wine to this very day. Like, holy crap, I really enjoyed that. I really loved that. And then with the third pro is that, like, hey, as far as I know, RoboCop kicks ass. He really kicks ass, and especially seeing like with the interactions, I think the dialogue and interactions are at least decent or close to being solid. I'm not gonna lie though, there are some areas where it sounds kind of pretty off-putting or like pretty weak or flat, but luckily there's not too much of that though, at least in my eyes. So there's that. So overall, with RoboCop 2 and 3, I would say that I enjoy RoboCop 2 a little bit more. With 3 though, I'm like, I kind of like it. I just think it could have been way better though. You know, as far as I know, when it comes to storytelling, I think RoboCop 2 storytelling works better than RoboCop 3, because like with RoboCop 3, it had nothing much to do with RoboCop himself. He was just basically involved in something when it comes to like a very corporate being that wants to like basically kick people out of their houses and thinking they might go to a better place, but now like they're even trying to kill them too. So yeah, it's kind of like pulling like a Star Wars here, because there's this rebellion and it's up against these evildoers who think about the good guys or whatnot. So yeah, I thought that was kind of odd of choice they went there, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was kind of interesting, but still, I think it was not executed that well, but I still enjoyed it for what it was nonetheless. Now then, apparently there's these other RoboCop stories and properties out there. Apparently there's these secret directives, like 4 different TV movies. Yeah, the TV movies, and there's even like a 1990s RoboCop TV series, which is like trying to be like its own thing, but still trying to like carry the RoboCop name, trying to have that model there. So I'm like, oh boy. So as a brand new RoboCop fan, I'm gonna have a fun time here, and let's see if they actually turn out either pretty entertaining or outright boring though, because one thing I won't tolerate is outright boring and just being straight up criminal on ruining everything of what the first RoboCop movie was trying to be. I can understand and see why RoboCop 2 and 3 are not that good, but I don't think they're that bad, but I can see why people would treat them that bad. So yeah, I can see where your people are coming from. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Let me know in the comments below on which movie do you prefer more, RoboCop 3 or 2, despite it being sequels. Jigs VL, out.